Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Until 6, where we talk about all things related to Five Nights at Freddy's. Today we're going to be talking about early theories from the early days of FNAF, which were pretty terrible. There wasn't a lot to go off of during those early days of FNAF, and they had to make up a lot of stuff, really. And there's a lot of guessing, just sometimes we're just trying to make up stuff. And we're talking about some of these early theories, which are kind of bad, so let's begin. Foxy is a good guy. Foxy's a good guy with the theory that Foxy was not trying to kill you, but rather just really trying to check up on you because he was worried about you. And then when he ran into your office, he accidentally gave you a heart attack. Now the evidence behind this was that instead of jump scaring you and getting right up in your face, he leaned into the room through the doorway, trying to trying to peek and see how you're doing. And instead of immediately just going for your office, he sort of slowly made his way out of it, in a series of stages. A build attempt to try and make him seem not hostile. And the reason why you still died is because he accidentally gave you a heart attack. Of course, we know that none of that is true. It doesn't make any sense at all, but still, we believe that. Now, on to the second one. Chica is the phone guy. This is the idea that after the phone guy had been killed in the night 4 phone call, that he had been stuffed into the body of Chica. This mainly came from the fact that in certain cameras you could see a second set of teeth inside of Chica. And of course, since we know they didn't try to do stuff into a suit, that was the idea. But this is in other characters besides just for Chica. And in the jump scares you see it better. And this is very clearly the endo teeth. If you look at the endo teeth and the teeth of Chica that are inside of her mouth, it's very clearly. Which the idea was that the second set of teeth inside of her mouth was Phone Guy's teeth, but of course, it was little of that, and they heard endoskeleton teeth. It's very clear to see her endoskeleton sticking out. The phone guy is purple guy. This was actually a pretty good theory for the time. It did have some evidence backing it up. And it didn't make sense back then. The evidence went as follows. Phone guy says his favorite character is Foxy. In the Foxy Go minigame, you see Purple Guy, and there he is smiling at the side of Foxy. He says he doesn't like the puppet that's always thinking. The puppet was most likely the first victim of the Purple Guy. The puppet was the one who gave the other children life again inside of the animatronics, and is the reason why they walk around. And he says that he would take up the night shift. When we see Purple Guy in the Save Them minigame, he's wearing a security badge, something that typically night watchmen wear. And animatronics are, of course, hunting after him very persistently. They're banging on the doors in the Night 4 minigame. They never do that besides Foxy in anything else, but in the FNAF, in the Night 4 phone call, we see them persistently banging on the door, like they specifically are going after him especially, maybe because they figured out he was their killer. Now, of course, we know that that's not true. It was William Afton, a brilliant mad scientist who kidnapped people to run experiments on them to extract remnants, this sort of special substance that can grant life to inanimate objects in an attempt to bring back his son. Pink Guy and Purple Guy. This theory stated that there were two killers. Pink Guy, a man who did not work for Freddy Fazbear's, and Purple Guy, a man who did work for Freddy Fazbear's, most likely Phone Guy. This theory came from the fact that in the pictures of the Purple Guy in the first game he appears, FNAF 2, he has two different sprites. A tall pink one, and a more hunched over purple one. And the one has a security badge, it was not the idea came about that these were two different killers killing at the same grounds during this period of time. But of course we know now that that's simply just not true. There's only one killer in this franchise, William Afton. And Scott does not like to reuse assets or reuse characters' designs. FNAF 2 is a sequel. This idea came about, of course, logically from the teasers and first trailer, where all things pointed to the fact that the old animatronics have been thrown away into the trash, had been dismantled and gotten rid of, and that these new sleek animatronics were the new ones. It only made sense. The sleek, cool, these sleek plastic robots for a new location are the new ones, and the thrown away, broken ones are the old ones. And so it only made sense, of course, also going off of the basic numeric progression that, of course, it was a sequel. But now, people continue to believe this for some time after the release of the second game, even though at the end it says 1987 on the paycheck, and we know 1987 was a significant number of years ago, as they refer to the fight of 87 in the first game. But people still believed it for some time, but eventually figured out that this is a sequel, this is a prequel, despite people believing it for some time, even though at the end of the first game, at the end of the game, we see the paycheck of 1987. Mike Trap. Now, Mike Trap was a theory that Springtrap was Michael Afton. In the end of the sister location Golden Freddy Custom Night, you see a cutscene outside of Fazbear's right after it has burned down, and Michael goes on about his speech. At the very end, you see Springtrap jump out of the rubble, and at the end of the speech, his voice begins to sound very robotic. So, by then we'd already believed that Mike was Mike Schmidt and Chris Smith, and going to these places to set free the souls of the children that have been killed by William. The idea was that he went to the restaurant after it closed to free the souls by destroying the animatronic suits, and it was why they attacked him, because they thought he was William Afton. Because Michael did say that the Fun Times thought he was William, so it wouldn't be too hard to say that the Classics thought he was William as well. And this idea even continued up until Pizzeria Simulator. I saw several videos during the time of Pizzeria Simulator depicted Michael Afton as Scraptrap and William as the owner. But eventually, of course, that theory died out once we figured it out logically. And the next thing became whether the Purgatory in UCN was for Mike or for Will. It's generally believed that the Purgatory was clearly for Will. Mike Kill All is a theory that stated that Mike Schmidt, the night guard in the first game, was the one who committed the murders and the missing children's incident of June 26, 1985. The name for it came from the fact that in the FNAF 2 trailer, it features a rendition of the song London Bridge. And allegedly, if you reversed it, you hear the words Mike Kill All. Of course, this isn't true at all, but we didn't have any suspects. And with the fact that you keep killing her every single night after night without any explanation, and the fact that Golden Freddy, when he appears to you, he says the words, "It's me," like he knows you, and then you're the one who sees the newspapers covering the incident. The idea was that you were the one who killed them, and the reason why you just came back for some reason, or this is all in your head. This is a nightmare that you're reliving when you actions you did. That was Matthew Patrick's first theory on his series Game Theory when he first covered Five Nights at Freddy's. The idea was that you were the one who did the MCI, and these were your nightmares. You were repeating over and over and over, and that's why you never left the restaurant. That's why you were coming back next week, and that you had been caught. And of course, he did connect it to that 1993 Chuck E. Cheese shooting. Yeah, some parts of that theory specifically come from the whole shooting. The "It's me" thing. The idea was that person had been the one who got away and survived, and it's me. He was reminded that he was the one who got away and got you convicted, and that came because one of the people in the shooting survived by playing dead, and that they were one who helped get the guy who did the shooting arrested, and that Golden Freddy was lying the way he did because the guy who survived the shooting in real life played dead and went limp, and it was kind of the whole thing. Yeah. But that's all I gotta say for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all around next episode. So, bye. Have a nice time.